no practice shot.
They call me childish. They call me the Holy Ghost, son of the Most, Father, they don't know me.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I'm joined by Tina as promised, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of prevalent issues when it comes to women, because if you do not know, and you should know this, Tina actually runs a blog called The Black Girl Legal Narrative, and what it does is, well, no, I don't write the blog. What does your blog do?
So my blog is centered around advocacy, around women's issues. I talk a lot about documenting the lived experiences of women in political and social spaces in order to strengthen advocacy in policy-making spaces and just cultivating a culture of activism.
And togetherness as women, which I love. And like, they're not scared. Like, that's not a frou-frou blog, guys. Because Tina will write about everything and anybody. Like, nobody can hide. She'll be out there with like politics and be like, ooh, what's that pastor doing? Ooh. And I'm like, okay. But as soon as I knew that you were going to be here, I actually had a few questions that I wanted to ask you, because I think they're important to me, they're important to the people that are watching, and it's important for us to just talk about things and raise awareness, as you already do. My first question has to do with domestic violence when it comes to ZIM. So I wanted to ask, when it comes to ZIM, how much do you think that the protectionist culture when things happen in terms of domestic violence kind of increases how much domestic violence there is? And what I mean by that is that when somebody's getting beaten by their husband or something is happening in their home, a lot of the times people will choose to deal with it as a family issue because they don't want to embarrass the family or they don't want their business out there. And how much do you think that actually makes there be more domestic violence amongst people, like, if at all? Because maybe it doesn't.
I think that culture really perpetuates like violence, and it really perpetuates, you know, that there's a, what's that sumo that ZIM people love to use when people are getting beaten up? Chakafukidza zimba matenga.
Oh, wow.
I think that people really love
the fact that there's even a sumo that people love to use when people are getting beaten up.
But I think that people are very interested in protecting a false sense of integrity. I think people want to protect themselves from shame, but they're so misguided about which is the shameful thing that is going on in the family.
Yeah.
It feels shameful, you know, to have a young girl be sexually assaulted or to be raped or to be beaten, when in actual fact the shameful thing is that there is someone who's doing these things and you're protecting this person. Family. Literally. And I just think that women need to be valued more and they need to be believed more. And you know, once people think that women's bodies are important, when people think that women's identities and their integrity is important, they will do anything to protect it. And that's not really the case at the moment.
No.
I think that the justice system in Zimbabwe is particularly broken because so many women report their assault incidences, and you know, you have these first responders, you know, these policemen, these nurses, whatever, they're like to you, oh, what happened? What did you do? And like, you know, how can you negotiate with your abuser?
Yeah.
You cannot negotiate with someone who is so committed to exerting power over you.
Right.
There's no fair conversation. There's no kutorana we're going to do at home. I'm going to go home and he's going to beat me. I'm going to come back. He's going to tell me the same thing.
And it's such a cultural thing. How, Sway? Yeah. Do you not see this bruised lip? Like, how?
I think that men have also for so long just been told that they're the head of the house, they have the power, and it's just this thing where you're so drunk on power, you're so obsessed with power. I'm so tired of people asking about, of people saying, oh, when you love a woman, right, she will submit. What is the obsession with submission? The obsession in itself is just absurd because love has absolutely nothing to do with power.
Exactly.
So, you know, you love someone, you're not going to beat them. You know, you love someone, you're not going to expect them to be any less of themselves just to appease some of the things or some of the decisions that you want to make.
And people need to stop forgetting that it's submit to each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because also, if you need someone to give up a bit of themselves so you can fully be yourself or your best self, then you're not that great.
You're not that great. Alright, but like, that leads me on to my next question. So I was on the Twitter streets And I read the story, I then read about it and I found out it's true. So I'm not just telling you Twitter stuff because people lie on Twitter. So it's not just Twitter stuff. But I read the story of this maid, right, who went into the bin and retrieved a condom from this one here billionaire. And then she managed to impregnate herself. Not only that, but also win a case for maintenance. So now this here billionaire has to pay maintenance for the child he did not know he was having, nor wanted to have. And what do you think about that? Whether or not if a guy asks you for an abortion, they should still have to pay maintenance. So let's start with this story, actually. Like, do you think that guy should have had to pay maintenance?
That guy definitely should not have gotten to pay maintenance. If anything, he should have just instituted legal proceedings. That's assault.
That's theft. that's robbery. Second, third, fifth degree. Like,
yeah, because I mean, I think a little bit of what, you know, brings by that parental duty is that consensual conceiving of the child. You know, we both came together. We made this, in some instances, beautiful thing. You know, we should both be responsible for it because, you know, the minute we decided to engage in unprotected sex, we reconciled with the possibility of conceiving, and, you know, we should both carry that burden. We should, sorry, not burden, responsibility.
That bundle of joy.
Yeah, fun. But if we are talking about someone who had absolutely no idea that, you know, someone's egg was currently fertilizing with his seed because he does not know this woman, he does not know her naked, he does not know her body.
woman.
You know, I do not recognize this woman.
Sorry to this woman.
I can walk past the street. You did this. You had to do that. So if we're talking about someone who had absolutely no idea about, you know, that act of conceiving a child, I don't think that was fair at all. If anything, I think he has more of a legal right to claim something against her. She needs to give that money back.
At least. Because that was like 2-3 mil, bruh. I know a lot of things I could do with 2-3 mil right now.
She said for life.
But then, like, even when you, okay, because like what you were talking about before, when two people come together and then they conceive, and then it's like, okay, we should both share the responsibility. In an ideal world, it will be the woman's choice whether or not she can have an abortion. She'll be able to have a safe abortion if she chooses to do so. But I want to kind of talk about the other side of it. Because to me, it's like, okay, in an ideal world, if you do not want to have a child as a woman, you have an out. Like, you can just decide, okay, I'm not going to have this child. But as a man, when do you have an out? Unless the woman decides that she wants to have an abortion.
I feel like as a man, your out is the minute that you inserted yourself into someone else without protection. That is your moment of I don't want a child. You get to say you don't want a child as you perform a sexual act, and you're like, you know what, actually, maybe I don't want to bring life into this world. Because I think after that, honestly, decisions have, I actually hate this statement because people use it for all the wrong reasons.
But
decisions have consequences. Decisions have consequences. And that only works in this context. That applies. I think that, you know, once you've shared yourself with someone and you conceive a child with them, you have way past reached the point where you are able to say that, no, I don't want to have a child with you. I don't want to be responsible. And, you know, the legal position in Zimbabwe currently is that even if you don't believe that the child is yours, you have to pay maintenance to a woman until you get a DNA test and get it proven that, no, this child is not mine. So there's very little room for men to, you know, after the fact say that, no, I never wanted a child. I made it clear that I didn't want a child. Well, you definitely wanted some sex.
But do you think that that's fair, though? Like, even if the child is not yours, and then even on top of that, like, because I know that with the custody matters that I deal with, if you have a child out of wedlock, like, you have no rights to that child. It's the mother's child. Like, custody goes to the mother. And like, is it proportionate if you're giving this amount of responsibility to men in terms of maintenance and you can't have an out and you have to be there, but then not giving them any of the rights that are associated with being a parent?
The Zimbabwe legal system places a lot of faith in mothers. Mothers are more, even if the father is involved, a mother more or less has the power to make all the decisions around, you know, the child. If you're going to have custody, the mother's is most likely to have custody, and that is because, you know, Zimbabweans are traditional people. They believe, you know, that women know best and we are natural caretakers.
I mean, they're not really wrong, but you know, we're not all natural caretakers either.
So they're like, you know, women are natural caretakers. They should, and
national caretakers, because at this point, you were right the first time.
Both. And they just really value what women think about, you know, the welfare of their children, which is absolutely crazy to me, because then you have abortion laws, which are the complete opposite, where women don't at all have a choice. So which is it? Do you believe in women's choices or not?
But like, I think, oh gosh, I'm really on the fence when it comes to it. Hey, when it comes to like the man's role in the decision, that's where I'm not sure. Because if we, as part of being a feminist, isn't also just about women's rights, from my perspective. I think it has to do with equality, like all around, for both genders. And it just so happens that it's been very disproportionate towards women for the longest time. But then I don't think it would be right to completely skew it the other direction either, out of kind of vindication of, you guys have had it this way for so long, so it's now our turn to, you know, go against you. I think it just has to be equal all around. And in this conversation, I think if a woman can have an out in terms of having a child, a man should also have an out in terms of the responsibilities regarding that child. Because if you deciding that, okay, it's not my choice whether or not you have an abortion or not, fair and fine. But then it should also not be your choice whether or not I pay maintenance or not.
How is it fair that two people engage in an act and only one person has to be responsible? I mean, I completely understand if you don't want to have a child, but even if you do decide after, you know, a woman gets pregnant that you don't want to have a child, you are still not the person a man is not the person who would have to undergo the termination. A man is not the one who has to take the morning afters. A man is not the one who has to take, you know, contraceptives every single day. So I think it's just,
but why must I pay?
It's unfortunate.
But why must I pay? Like, why must I pay maintenance?
As opposed to just the woman taking care of her child on her own because she decided that she wanted to have this kid.
And I done told you I don't want to have a kid. You said, nope, I still want this. I'm not going to pressure you eat one way or the other, but I'm just not going to pay for it. It'll be like I was never here.
I think we've known for a very long time, especially here in Africa. You know, there's so many absent fathers. There's so many men who do not even know what their children look like. They do not know if their children are dead or alive. And
my daddy didn't even know what I look like. I'm 25, girl.
Daddy. That man could walk past me in the road.
Sorry to the man.
Hydrating because it's summer. This is water. We don't drink.
The devil's water.